All right. Hello and welcome everyone to this month's community update. My name is Jason Dobies. I'm a developer relations engineer at Google, working on the Bazel project, obviously. And I'm excited. Oops, hang on. I've got this on the side and I can now hear myself talking to myself. Okay. Today I'm excited. Last month we got to do some intro type of stream stuff. We did some roadmappy things, but another area I want to go with these live streams. And you know what? Let me take a quick step back. If this is your first time, this is obviously a very new initiative. I want to increase this visibility we're having from what's going on inside of Google out to the rest of the community. And that visibility is a variety of things. Last month, we saw some roadmap stuff. This month, we get to do a whole bunch of nerd shit. And I'm really excited to have two of the engineers working on Bzlmod, which is one of the bigger features coming in 6.0. So we get to get pretty down in the weeds today. We're going to see a demo, much more of my style of things than necessarily a roadmap. Thank you for answering Adam's question. Yes, these get posted within a couple of hours. Last time there was a small bug in YouTube, actually, where it got marked as private. I spent a good amount of time laughing that my own company flagged my video as spam, but that should hopefully be fixed now and they should be live after that. Including when I get to the end, the survey will also be live for days after it. So I encourage you to take that, but getting ahead of myself. So these streams are meant to be this monthly communication of us to the community. This is kind of narrative driven. Hey, these are the things that we feel like everyone should know about. You can see chat is a little bit busy right now. I encourage everyone to say hi, to be very vocal in there, either asking questions, talking amongst yourselves. Last month, we had a bunch of puns going on, which was actually pretty awesome. I will be keeping an eye on that and asking the questions as appropriate and kind of filtering them in. Real quick before we get started, some very fast news items. Bazel 5.2 came out 16 days ago, 2 weeks ago. I will paste that link to the blog into the chat for everyone to click on. Obviously, as a point release, don't expect a ton of major features, but also don't expect a ton of breakages because this is not a full-blown release. Going forward, I'd like to clean up this process a little bit and be a little more vocal about what's going in them. And it's a thing that we're working on. The other big news is BazelCon 2022 finally has been scheduled. I am leading that effort, got things, a date at least for us, and a town. So expect to be in New York in mid-November. I will have news over the next couple of weeks. We're looking to start the CFP process at the end of July or so, which does not give us a lot of time. So get your ideas together for the kind of talks you want to pitch, the kind of birds of a feather, and things like that. All right, enough from me. I'm going to welcome our two speakers to the stage and let them introduce yourselves. Yun, do you want to get started?
Hello, everyone. I'm Yun. I'm the current TL of the OSS team, the Bazel OSS team, and working on Bzlmod for a while now.
And hi, I'm Xudong, also working on the Bzlmod project.
All
right, I'm going to hand it over to you two and just shut up now.
Okay, so I'm going to share my slides. So basically, Bzlmod will be our the future external dependency system for Bazel, and I think it's already known to the community. We have published some design docs and also some basic documentations for that. We talked about this in last year's BazelCon, and we even did a podcast on the Bazel show. Today I just sent out the Bzlmod migration guide, so we'll share all those links later, and you can check them. And in today's meeting, we are going to do a demo and say what Bzlmod can do now, and share some examples, like comparing how do you introduce dependencies in workspace file, and how do you do it in the module.bazel file with Bzlmod. So let's get started, and I will share my screen. Okay, so now you can see my terminal now. So basically assume we have this JavaScript file to compile, and we probably want to find some JS rules that we can use for compiling JavaScript. And I'm going to use the the rules JS provided by Aspect. So
Be showing your terminal.
Okay, let me check if I can share another window here. Okay, I'll just share my whole screen so you can see everything. Okay. Yeah. Now, so I'm basically on the release page of the Rules.js, and they have some instructions about how to introduce Rules.js in your workspace file. So basically, I have to copy paste the boilerplate here and create the workspace file. Since I'm not going to use the dependencies from npm, so I'm skipping something in the bottom, but still the boilerplate code is quite long. Here we are basically using Rules.js from the version 0.13.0, and we have to load the transitive dependencies by a macro, and also register the tool chains by a macro. And now I can write a build file here. And this video file, and JS binary. Entry point is the script we want to compile. Okay, so it's not too complicated, and we can just run Bazel to build it and run the target. Okay, something is wrong. I think I. Oh yes, of course. It's a repository.
Yeah.
Gotta love live demos.
Yeah,
Honestly, I mean, as you can imagine, in my role, I've had
Yes.
6 years of
And
failed
now it
live
works.
demos in front of a lot of people.
It works this time, yeah. But as you can see, we have to introduce this with the workspace file with all those codes. But let's do it with Bzlmod. So let me first just delete everything in the workspace file. And so what the module.bazel file looks like. So because everything, the rules JS also recently adopted Bzlmod, and it's checked into the Bazel Central registry. So we can just use it here by specifying the module name and the version. Aspect Rules.js, yes, that's correct. Now we try to run it. Of course, it doesn't work because we haven't enabled Bzlmod yet. Enable Bzlmod. Oh, shit. Okay. As you can see, it's actually fetching the dependency from the central registry and the metadata of the dependency, and then try to download it and run it. So this is, compared to the workspace file, this is much simpler. The transitive dependency of Rules.js is fetched automatically. The tool chains is also registered automatically. So it will greatly improve the usability for Bazel users. Yeah, so that's a simple demo here. And now let's check more examples to compare how you introduce dependencies with Bzlmod. So we have added examples in the examples repository under Bazel build. So the first one is very basic. Like if we can check. So basically, we want to use glog. So glog depends on gflags, so we have to declare everything here in the workspace file. But with the module.bazel file, you only have to depend on the glog, and you can also use the repo name attribute to make the dependency available at a different repository name. So you can still use the repository you want in the build file. Yep. So, and another one is overriding dependencies in in workspace file, because everything is defined with the explicit URL and GitHub Git URL and which commit. So if you want to use a fork version, you can just do it here. Of course, you can also patch a dependency or use a no-code directory to override the dependency. And everything is also available in Bzlmod in the module.bazel file. So we have the archive override to point a specific module at the URL given by you, and also to your Git repository. And we can even patch a dependency that's fetched from the Bazel Central Registry, or use a local path for a module. So one thing to notice that after overriding the module, there still has to be a module.bazel file under the source of this Bazel module. So Bzlmod knows how to fetch the dependencies transitively. Yep. So what if you are trying to introduce some dependencies that doesn't make sense to be turned into a Bazel module? For example, I just want to download some data file and so make it available through this repository name. So in the workspace file, you can just load this macro to define this HTTP archive repo. But in Bzlmod with the module.bazel file, you have to use module extension to do that. So basically, you can define a very simple module extension. In its implementation function, you can invoke repository rules or the macro, and then it will be available. So basically, in workspace file, you load the macro directly, but in module.bazel file, you load the module extension, and then the module extension will bring in the repository. So because in Bzlmod we enforce strict depth, so you have to use this use repo directive to explicitly declare that you need this repository. Yeah. So
let me interrupt you right there. There was a couple of questions that I know got answered in chat, but I do want to make sure that we at least say them out loud. So Xudong, you were answering these in chat. Do you want to just kind of read them out loud and just going to give your answer again? I'm pretty sure chat's captured in YouTube, everything like that, but I just feel like it'd be better to just get it on stream too.
Yeah, that's fine. So Ryan asks, in addition to local repository, the repo rule, does override repository, the flag still work? So the flag still works. The flag is basically, for those who are not aware, it specifies a map from basically a lot of key value pairs. Like this repository name, instead of believing what the workspace file tells you, you should put this. You should consider this repository name comes from this specific path, this local directory that that's specified in the path. In the flag. So this flag will keep working under Bzlmod. The only thing you need to take care of is that the repository name is no longer potentially what you think it is. It's not like, for example, rules Node.js. It will be something like rules Node.js hash the version and then something. So the canonical repository name is considered an unstable API. Mostly people use override repository for local testing anyway. So we have this other override in the module.bazel file called local path override. which you can specify to say, okay, this module needs to come from this local directory path. And as I posted in the chat, there's a GitHub issue tracking making that override also a flag, so you don't need to just change your module.bazel file every time you want to test something locally. It'll probably be called like override module path or something like that. Yep, that's
cool. You guys probably realize this, but there's like a 30-ish second delay to YouTube. So if there's follow-up questions, ask me and I will bring us back to that. For now, the question before that, you may have just covered this a bit, but want to explicitly call this one out too.
Yeah. Can I use local repository still when Bzlmod is around? Yes, it's supposed to work in the module extension. In the module extension implementation function, you can call any repo rule to instantiate repos, but native repo rules like local repository currently don't work due to some technical difficulties. So again, I posted the issue number in GitHub, like in YouTube chat. So
and workaround for this is that you can implement a startup version of local repository.
Yeah.
So it should be easy.
Okay. And one more just came in, and then we'll get back to the demo stuff.
Okay.
What about reproducible hermetic builds? The workspace no longer specifies the exact SHA hash of the depths. So workspace still does whatever workspace does. What you mean to say probably is that the module.bazel file does not contain SHA hashes. For hermetic builds, we have this planned feature of offline mode and vendor mode. So that's gonna also the log file.
So basically the SHA didn't go away entirely. So now we basically store the metadata of the Bazel modules in the Bazel Central Registry, which also contains a SHA for the archive that you download. As long as you are basically trusting the Bazel Central Registry, your build will still be reproducible, and we plan to not breaking user when we adding stuff to the Bazel Central Registry. And as Xudong said, if you also enable the log file and if future maybe the vendor mode, it's also going to help resolve this problem.
Yeah, those features might not be made in time for 6.0. But again, there's like GitHub issues tracking them, so like feel free to watch those.
Cool. Thank you, guys. Again, as more questions come up, feel free to post them and I'll keep an eye on it. Or feel free to post comments like Kyle, who says Bzlmod is a great improvement. And I just felt the need to highlight that. That's great. All right. Yun, you want to go back to the demos?
Yes. Before going back to the demo, I just want to show what I said here in the Bazel Central Registry. Also, basically the attributes of the HTTP archive. So it's also this archive, the source archive is also verified by integrity value. Okay, let's continue with the examples. So another thing that repository rule is used for is to inspect some your local machine's environment and for example detecting some tool chains on your machine. For example, C++ tool chain, and here I have a very simple rule to detect the shell tool chain on your machine and generate a repository. And since module extension is the only way that you can introduce repositories fetched by custom repository rule. So basically, we also have to write a module extension for this. Basically, still calling the repository rule that does the local config and generates the tool chain. So so in the module.bazel file, basically you load the module extension, so the repository will be available. And in the modules directive, you can register this tool chain through this tool chains to register attributes. And this will have this is basically if your module does this, then the other projects that depend on you won't have to do it. That's why we say the rules JS example that we don't have to do the tuition registration anymore because this is also transitive. So yeah. And the next one is more complicated. So basically, module extension is actually originally designed to integrate third-party package managers. For example, Maven, we now have Rules JVM external, but it doesn't work transitively because you have to declare everything in your workspace file. And with module extension, you can actually collect information from the whole dependency graph and resolve the dependencies first, and then fetch the resolved dependency by calling the third-party package manager. So here I have a pseudo package manager called the librarian that can fetch an artifact at a given version, fetch a book at a given edition, or select the books that we if you want 2 editions of the same book, which one should we select? So here we select the newest one. So basically, this is like resolving your dependencies. Different package manager could do this differently, but in the module extension, you can just you can actually implement the resolution logic in Starlock in module extension, but you can also call the external the third-party package manager to do that for you, which is the case here. Yeah. So in the I probably don't have time to go into the details, but I will show you how it's used. So basically, if you check the module.base file of the main module, here we load these extensions, and we use the tag provided by the extension to define the books we want to fetch, and also the versions. So here I want the Great Gatsby at this version, which is a little bit old, and Hamlet at this version. My module also depends on A and B. A and B also requires the same books at different versions. So by using the module extension, we can resolve them to the latest version that's required in the whole dependency graph. So in the end, you will get the Great Gatsby at the newest version, and also Hamlet at the latest version. So this is very different from workspace file. So what does it look like in workspace file? Workspace file, you can also depend on A and B and note their dependencies with their macros. But what you actually get in the end depends on the order of the load statements. I have more details documented here, so feel free to check it out. So this will make the final results, the dependency you get, very confusing and very hard to manage. So this is a great example that why we need Bzlmod. Yeah. And lastly, we have
Let me jump in before that. We've got a few questions queued up.
Okay.
Nope, that's not right.
Yeah.
There we go. Yes, also give you time to breathe. I understand how that goes.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, this is a question about using system libraries. We have talked about this, discussed this among ourselves.
Yeah.
But the answer I just gave was that we probably won't have the time, the cycles to write such a module extension. Like this can be taken care of by a module extension. Also, there's existing solutions for the workspace file in like rules for and CC. So like the same can be easily achieved by just converting it to a module extension.
Oh, I think it's rule CC. Yeah.
Rule CC. Okay.
Yeah, there is already I think a system library. I don't know how many people are using this and how well it's maintained, but it's a solution we tried. But and it's possibly it can also adopt Bzlmod and make it better. Yeah.
So yeah, that the capability is there, as I said.
Yeah, the capability is there. It's just from the Bazel team, we don't have the time to actually implement this. But from the community, I think there are a lot of opportunities here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. Also, before he answers, I love your YouTube avatar icon. I think that's awesome.
Okay, will we be able to create a different override for each configuration when using override for each environment, like dev or prod? So I don't think we have this. Dev or prod as in like, testing or prod, not like when it's being used as a dev dependency or not.
No.
I think, yeah, so we don't really have this. But, feel free to file a feature request. This is kind of like conditional
dependencies,
which
right?
is a huge topic.
But I think you can still configure that in the build level, like you depend on different repository when you switch.
Yeah, there's different ways to go about this. Easier to discuss, in an issue. So, yeah.
I am really bummed I didn't have the video on, because when Xudong mentioned the conditional dependencies, you could actually see the veins in his forehead popping out from the discussions and the stress behind this thing. I'm super bummed we missed that live, but you could probably hear the voice. It was definitely there.
Andreas Herman, if he's ever here, he's like big on conditional dependencies. But anyway.
I don't know if this is a follow-on to Gunner's feedback, but does this make sense as a standalone question? Or should I actually, you know what? Let me go back. Let's do this, because you replied to this one too.
Yeah. So when Yun was giving the example about the make-believe package manager of the librarian thing. So yeah, an example with an existing package manager would be more, familiar to users. But the thing is, the Java rules for this, rules javing external, which Simon Stewart has been working on, is not checked in yet. So for our examples, we can't just like directly use that. Same thing for rules Node.js.
Rules Go.
Rules Go, which we wanted to demo, but like it was not checked into the BCR yet. So Fabian Moimat's time has been working on that. So lots of community engagement, which is great. Thank you guys. And I think so. This feedback, this particular piece of feedback, we can address when more stuff is available.
Yeah, I think if there are better examples available, we're definitely using them. But still, the community is still in the migration process. So I thought maybe we can just start with some simple examples that people can follow if they are trying to actually integrate other package managers.
Yeah. I'm not quite sure what JVM Maven import external is referring to. Maybe we can follow up on that.
Yeah, Gunnar, if you want to add some clarification to your second question, let me know and I'll bring it back on stage. On to the demos part or the examples part. I don't have a ton of information or structure in place yet, but this is something that it's come up in the rules SIG, and I really want to get our examples fleshed out. That's going to end up involving the community, because I, as one DevRel engineer, cannot write all of them. So I'm going to echo Yun's comments about, this would be great to come from the community, and these suggestions are awesome. We definitely want to have that kind of stuff there.
Okay, so I'll finish the last example, which is about dev dependencies. Basically, the dev dependencies that you can specify, but it won't propagate to the dependents that use when your module is used as a dependency of others. So here you can see. Let me first show you the module A, which is what we want to depend on. So it can specify, okay, I want Bazel Skylib, but as a dev dependency at version 1.2, and I want to fetch a book, but it's also as a dev dependency at this version. So if the root module depends on A, but requires older version of both. So basically here, the Bazel Skylib is 1.1.1, and the book is also very old version. So the versions in module A won't force them to get updated because they are specified as dev dependency. So previously in the workspace file, you have to be very carefully to not note any dev dependencies. For example, if A defines dev dependencies in this macro, then you have no way, you have to declare them here. so which is not very nice. So here, I think it's also a simplification for users when fetching dev dependencies. Okay, so I think that's all the examples I got. And for more, you can read the Bzlmod migration guide to understand how dependencies work in workspace file and how they work in Bzlmod. And feel free to comment there. And this is just our first version, so we'll update it as more things or more features are implemented. Yeah, so next I will hand over to Xudong to talk about our long-term roadmap for Bzlmod.
Yeah. I guess you'll be presenting because
yes. I have the slides right here. You might have to tell him to flip. Also, wait, can I? Oh, I can actually do it myself. You might see it in StreamYard itself. Migration guide. The migration guide link I just posted about 2 or 3 minutes ago in chat. I know there's been people asking for this. I'm excited to be able to get this out. And like you said, add comments. We're open to feedback. If there's things missing, if there's things better fleshed out, if you have questions, by all means, use that document because that's going to be a huge way of getting people on board to this.
All right. Who controls the? Sorry.
Okay. Do it.
All right. Let's start. So we like a couple weeks ago, me and you, and we sat down together and just like tried to write down a long-term roadmap for Bzlmod. And these are the milestones that we came up with because we're now using this long-term release model. Is basically any huge changes have to coincide with the major releases of Bazel. So the first thing that happened was, earlier this year, Bazel 5.0 was released with Bzlmod guarded behind an experimental flag. So that was kind of the proof of concept period when we just had the basics working, and we wanted to test the waters. And so far the responses have been very encouraging. Like people usually say good things about Bzlmod, so like good, we're gonna remove the experimental thing next version. So for now we have this. So Bazel can already build itself with experimental enabled Bzlmod right now, but it can only build the version that doesn't have a JDK bundled with it, because magic that we haven't migrated to Bazel's own module.bazel file yet. So that's going to be taken care of later. And on Bazel CI, we already have a post-submit pipeline to build Bazel itself with Bzlmod enabled, again, with only without any JDK bundled. So that's the current state. For the next stage, it's going to be Bazel 6.0. And who controls this? I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Next. Yeah, okay. Maybe I can just click from here. Anyhow, so Bazel 6.0 is the next step. And this is kind of where a lot of things, or if you ask the different people, too many things are happening at the same time. So the biggest thing is obviously, so the Bzlmod feature is no longer going to be guarded behind this experimental flag, but just like a normal flag. Basically just removing the name, removing experimental from the name. That does come with some promises, as in, so Bzlmod APIs and behaviors will stay stable within an LTS release. So if we want to make any breaking changes in like APIs or behaviors, then we would need to wait until 7.0. And so that's right now. That's that has been taking away a lot of my own attention, because there's a lot of like legacy bugs in Bazel that's the usage of Bzlmod has revealed, and they're very like tricky to fix. So like that's kind of what my day-to-day is being. And on the other hand, we also need the Bazel central registry to be ready for usage. Even though Bazel itself has the logic for Bzlmod, we need kind of enough stuff in the BCR to kickstart migrations. So to consider BCR officially launched, we list out a few requirements. So the content needs to be stable, because right now we consider it to be in a beta stage. So we, sometimes things don't work, we just fix it right there. But in the future, BCR is supposed to be append only in a way. So you can only add new versions. existing versions have to be stable. They cannot change in any way because like, you know, as a user, like you use a certain module at a certain version, you won't know if like the central registry just like up and changed something for that existing version. So we're adopting this like append-only policy, and we're going to have a pre-submit check to ensure this. For that to work, we also need to decide on some things like how yanking a version works. There needs to be a discussion on that. You know, there's different, you know, SecOps people are saying different things than you know, usability people. So we can have a discussion. The maintenance policy needs to be clearer. We had an earlier document on like the maintenance policies for PCR. There were some things in there weren't like super settled, I guess. So we need to sort of have a clearer answer for some of the questions in there. For example, we need to have a clearer version for the module names. We also plan to change the version format, you know, before the official launch, because right now we're using a semver which doesn't work quite well with you know, some other package managers have been using. So we're going to switch to something that's more you know, like relaxed sort of. Infrastructure needs to be ready. So the infrastructure for BCR is sort of already ready, but we need some more steps in there. For example, right now the content syncing pipeline is in the Bazel untrusted org, right? Which is not great.
We need to move it to the more secure one, so nobody can
mess with, you know, the BCR content. We need to have some sort of sanity checks for Bazel modules. For example, the versions in metadata.json need to match the module directory, because right now it's like the content of BCR is very there might be some duplication in there, and we are not enforcing it. Well, we cannot easily enforce it with just like manual PR reviews. We need to have some like pre-submit pipelines checking for this. And also we need the web front end for BCR. Right now you can only browse the BCR using using the GitHub repo. But thanks to
Maximilian,
a community member whose name I can't remember from the top of my head. Maximilian Goiser. Yes. Thank you very much for just like just one day after the RuleSig meeting, they just whipped up a test version of the web front end for BCR, which looks fantastic. So yeah, I guess Jason can maybe later put the link in there. You can put the link to Jason.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for this. So we also like welcome community contributions like this. And then lastly, version BCR for all active major Bazel releases. So this is kind of also a difficult topic, because imagine in Bazel 7.0, we introduce some new API for the module.bazel file. You can now call something else to do some crazy thing. And then suddenly, if we just like upload this thing, then any previous Bazel versions won't work with these newer versions of these modules that use this new directive. So we might need to have some sort of branching model that, you know, have a branch of the BCR that works for previous Bazel versions, and have a branch at head. Like details are fuzzy, so we need to work that out. Next page, please.
Before we go to that, there's a couple of questions queued up, and as cool as it was when I looked at these slides to see expectations out to Bazel 10 and beyond, I want to make sure we get to these.
Yeah, I'll try to make it within the next few minutes. What about recursive workspaces? Yes, so that's kind of naturally taken care of by the model of Bzlmod. So when you bring in like a dependency, like a direct dependency, it automatically brings in all its own direct dependencies and further on. So you don't need to, you know, it's kind of like a recursive workspace that works, you know, because recursive workspace is still very imperative.
Currently, the model that node in the macro from another repository doesn't really work, because it didn't actually have a clear resolution algorithm for the dependencies. So you can easily get lost when you have a lot of macros loaded in the workspace file. So that's basically what we are trying to solve with the module.bazel file.
Cool. Next step.
How friendly is BCR to mirroring? Should be fairly friendly.
Yes, basically you can actually, for any Bazel registry, so basically Bazel central registry is a Bazel registry. which has a Bzl_registry.json file. In that file, you can actually configure where the mirroring URL for this. So basically, we're doing automatically mirroring for when we merging new Bzl modules. So you no longer have to specify this mirror.bzl.build_/ your URL things. Yeah. So
yeah, that's the mirrors for archives.
yes.
I believe you might also be referring to mirroring the registry contents itself. Like you can have an internal registry for your company, because the registry format is just like it's a dumb HTTP server.
Yeah.
So just like have the files ready and it'll just work as a registry. We actually have some testimonials from like ARM. ARM, the company, has been setting up their own company internal registries, and apparently it works very well for them. So hopefully it's all good.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, 2 more.
Registry, are we expected to read a proxy? One and a half can secure the stability of my local builds in this world. Oh wow, in this world. I mean, yeah, like I said before, you can also mirror the whole registry, if you'd like to. If you want to, yeah, you can also set up your company internal registries if you really want the hermeticity.
Yeah, and also the log file to be implemented that will also help here.
Yeah, help with the stability.
Mm-hmm.
All right, time to squeeze in this last one.
Bzl tools module internal also to the center. Oh well, that ships with Bzl itself, so that's not really a like a thing that you want to be able to upgrade, I guess, because like the Java code in Bzl sometimes requires some things in Bzl tools to work a certain way, so we can't really.
So it has to be a default module for now, and but maybe in the long term, for example, if the CC rules or Java rules are both star-archified, we can move more stuff out from the Bzl tools.
Yeah, some things we can remove from the Bzl tools.
But but for now, for the foreseeable future, it will still be a default module. Yeah, like previously in the workspace file, it's a default repository.
All right, and that actually brings us to time perfectly. Please, all of you, I've been posting this a few times now. Love to hear from you on the survey. The biggest question that is on this one and will always be on future surveys is, what do you want to see us talk about next? It ultimately makes this better if it's what the community is into. Thank you to everyone in chat. This was a lot of questions. I was really excited to see it. I'm glad everyone's got this kind of interest in Bzlmod. Thank you, Yoon. Thank you, Xudong. I am Jason, and I will see you next month. Take care, everyone.
Yep. Bye. Bye-bye.